Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Thank you for coming to my presentation. So, first of all, praise and gratitude. Let us pray to the presence of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Salawat and greetings may be bestowed upon our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Mr. Hafid Ali, whom I respect, and also my friends who I am front of. Let me introduce myself. My name is Umi Kalsum Nuraeni with studio number 120204013 and 7. And in this occasion, I will present material with the theme is what is literature, real definition, and history. So, for shorten the time, let's begin with definition. Literature is referred to as the entirety of written expression, with the restriction that not every written document can be categorized as literature in the more exact sense of the word. Therefore, usually include additionally adjectives such as aesthetic or artistic to distinguish literary works from texts of every use such as telephone books, newspaper, legal document, and scholarly writings. Etymologically, the Latin word literatura is derived from litera or letter, which is the smallest element of alphabetical writing. The word text is related to textile and can be translated as fabric. Just as single thread form a fabric, words and sentences from a meaningful and coherent text. There are several experts who define what literature is. Here, I will bring three examples. The first is Henry van Dyke. Henry van Dyke said that literature consists of those writings which interpret the meanings of nature and life in words of charm and power, touch with the personality of the author, in artistic form of permanent interest. And then, second, Wellek and Warren. Wellek and Warren also state that the term literature seems best if we limit it to the art of literature. That is the imaginative literature. Literature is also produced by imagination of the author. Literature isn't just a document of fact. It is not just the collection of relevance that it may happen in the real life. Literature can create its own world as a product of the unlimited imagination. And then the last is McFadden. McFadden says that literature is a canon which consists of those works in language by which a community defines itself through the course of its history. It includes work primarily artistic and also these work these whole aesthetic qualities are only secondary. The self-defining activity of the community is conducted in the light of the work as its members have come to read them or concretize them. And then the second point is history. In simple terms, it can be said that the history of literature is a branch of literature that studies the growth and development of a nation's literature. For example, the history of Indonesian literature, the history of Japanese literature, and the history of English literature. With basic understanding, it appears that the object of literary history are all events that occur during the period of growth and development of a nation. The object of literary history are all events, and it has been mentioned earlier that the history of literature can involve literary work, author, publisher, teaching, criticism, and others. In Introduction to Literature, Luxembourg, it is explained that in the history of literature, literary period, school, genres, authors, and reader reaction are discussed. All fields can support development outside of literature, such as socials and philosophy. So, the history of literature includes the writing of literary development in the historical stream, and it is context. Next slide. The attention of literary school in Europe to the history of literature emerged in the 19th century. Starting from the attention of scientists in the Romantic era who connected everything with the past of nation. The basis is the philosophy of positivism, which is based on the principle of causality, namely everything that can be explained if the cause can be traced back. In terms of literary work can be explained or truly studied if it is known that its origins are based on the author's life history and the era that surround it. And then as we can see, no, this picture, this picture, this picture is of the figure of Hippolyte Taine. The figure who had major influence on this field was Hippolyte Taine. His view stated that a person is influenced by race, environment, and moment. Race is what humans inherit in body and soul. The environment includes natural and social conditions, while the moment in a socio-political situation at a certain time. When these three facts are well known, it is possible to conclude a climate of a birth which gave birth to the work of creation. And then second, George Wilhelm Scherer. The German literary historian Wilhelm Scherer used three determining factors, namely inheritance, experience, and the result of the learning process. Its application requires close collaboration between physiologists, psychologists, linguists, and cultural historians. He emphasized that a writer of literary history must be able to explore all human life, both physical and spiritual, in a causal linkage. And the next point is the development of English literature in the era of Queen Elizabeth. After Queen Mary died in 1558, the throne of the British Empire was then held by Queen Elizabeth. The era of Queen Elizabeth's reign lasts from 1550 to 1620. The era of her reign is referred to as the Golden Era or the Golden Age because in this era progress was made in various fields. Queen Elizabeth is known as a wise queen. During her reign, Queen Elizabeth has resolved many conflicts. One of them is religious conflict. As a result, religious tolerance emerged between Catholics and Protestants. In this era, literature is growing and showing its existence. Various literary works have sprung up in England, and their writers have had a significant impact on the development of world literature, and one of them is William Shakespeare. And then also there is John Lilly. John Lilly is one of the authors of Elizabeth era who has satire-writing style against classical history. In addition, Lilly is also able to balance between words, clauses, and phrases by means of alliteration, and as mentioned in her creation, alliteration itself can be interpreted as the repetition of consonant sound in a word. At the age of 24, Lily wrote the romantic stories, namely Euphues. As you can see, this is the cover of the book Euphues. Euphuism is a style of language that is made of seem exaggerate and contains alliteration figure of speech, such as the phrase hot liver of a headless lover. And then next there, Sir Philip Sidney. Sir Philip Sidney was a prominent literary figure in the Elizabeth era whose work was widely acclaimed. During his lifetime, he was known as a scholar who had earned a knighthood. His work as a writer was only known a few years after his death. The literary works he created during his lifetime earned him praise as a novelist and poet. One of his most famous works is Archaea, which was written around 1580 and became a tribute to his sister Mary. Archaea is a work that contains stories about family, romance, and knighthood. The story in Archaea has many episodes. In the romance world, Sidney is also share his thoughts regarding morals, politics, and the realities of life that occur in society. And then there's Edmund Spenser. Edmund Spenser was a poet in the Elizabethan era. Spenser is a figure who introduced poetic beauty to his generation. He is an expert in English poetry. The work created by Spenser was inspired by Chaucer's work. Chaucer himself is a poet from England who is thought as the father of English literature. Spenser's first work, namely the Shepherd's calendar was written in 1579. The strength of this poem lies in its style and content. This work consists of 12 eclogues adapted to the 12 months of the year, Mulgan and Davin, 1947. Eclogues can be interpreted as a pastoral poem, usually written in the form of dialogues between pastors. The Shepherd's calendar has many stanzas. It is contained in the form of dialogue, makes this work considered as English poetry with a new style. Spenser's next work was entitled Amoretti. In addition to the sonnet created by Sir Philip Sidney and William Shakespeare, Spenser's Amoretti also became a famous sonnet in the Elizabethan era. The sonnet contains seduction he wrote to Elizabeth Boyle, the woman he married in 1954. Spenser's masterpiece is an epic poem entitled The Fairy Queens. The Fairy Queens is the longest allegorical film in English literature. Spencer spent 20 years of his life completing this work. The work tells the story of the journey of several knights who represent certain virtue. They are looking for very queen, a knight who had both failure and success in reflecting the virtue. In this work, several ways were used by the knight to define virtue. For example, tonight of friendship, Campbell and Triamon, wait, and Triamon must help each other in defending the honor of woman. And then the last one is Samuel Daniel. Samuel Daniel is an English writer and historian. He had studied at the University of Oxford. Daniel has a writing style that is different from others. First, because his work never looked controversial, never used harsh words, and have a good word processing patterns. He doesn't present his work in bold language, but in soft language. Daniel is a calm and wise figure in an age full of chaos. Well language. That is the nickname someone gave him. That is, Daniel always expresses his ideas, thought, and inspiration with good words. With good words. He wrote this as a characteristic so that his poems seem pure and natural. One of Daniel's works is a patriotic poem entitled The Civil Wars. This work consists of 8 volumes containing nearly 900 stanzas. One of the volumes of this work tells the story of the British Empire from its confused to the return of Hereford to fight King Richard. And this is the reference that we use from any source. I think that's all from me. Thank you for your nice attention and see you next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.